Hello, welcome. Uh, Welcome to Parenting with DBT. Today I'm going to be giving a presentation on the describe skill. This is skill number 2 of the what skill presented under dialectical behavioral therapy skills. Just to provide a quick, very quick review, we have dialectical behavioral therapy, the therapy that looks at multiple ways of looking at things. Keywords here, we have two, more than one. Lectical, language. Behavior, we focus on behavior, and in DBT, behavior can be an emotion, it's a thought, it's a behavior, it can be an emotion. We also have modules in dialectical behavioral therapy, and if you work with an adolescent, there's 5 of them. There's core mindfulness, distress tolerance, interpersonal effectiveness, emotion regulation, and walking the middle path, which is a extra one that we see used with teenagers a little bit more often. So I'm going to take a moment just to explain wise mind. Wise mind is the frame of mind, as we explained in an earlier lecture. It is the source of kind of our inner wisdom. It tends to acknowledge what our emotions are telling us without being controlled by them or being able to resist acting on them. We have reason mind, which is a state of mind where we tend to ignore our emotions. We have emotion mind, where we tend to be unable to refrain from behaving or talking in a way that only our emotion is dictating. So we have the what skills, which are what things can we do to be more mindful, or what things can we do to get to a place of wise mind quicker or faster. And in our previous lecture, we talked about observing, which is our ability to just watch something non-judgmentally. And today we're going to talk about describe. We're going to talk about the describe skill. And in order to describe, we basically are we're taking things that we've observed and we're adding words to them. And typically these words are descriptive. So for example, if I observe something, like I'll do it right now. That would be observing. I just did an observation. But you have no idea even what types of things I was observing. All I can do is I tell you that I was observing. Now I'm going to put words to what I was doing. I'll describe. So I observed out a window. There were leaves and branches to a tree outside this window. And outside of this window there was rain that seemed to be gently falling through the leaves. And I'm noticing that there's an absence of wind and that I'm not seeing a lot of wind. So it looks very still. This would be an example of describing. So describing is where we take non-judgmental words and we put them to the scenery. So what I tell adolescents often is, here's what it would look like if it was non-descriptive, if it's just judgmental. I'm looking at something that is awesome. I'm looking at something that is cool. I'm looking at something that is amazing. And you have no idea what I'm observing. I'm just putting to words what I've just put to words my opinion on something that I've seen, and you have no idea what it is. But when I describe the window and the trees and the rain, you begin to at least form somewhat of a picture of what I'm observing. Now, there might be things that I observed that I didn't describe, and those things you can't understand because I haven't described them. But you get the idea. So there's important things to remember about describing. The first thing about describing is that we cannot describe. We learn a lot about describing by just knowing what we can't describe. We can't describe another person's thoughts. I cannot look at you and look at your face and be like, I know what you're thinking, and I can't read your mind. which means your adolescent can't read your mind. It means you can't read your adolescent's mind. That's just how it goes. We also can't read someone's intent, which is really important. Sometimes when people say comments or do things, we can give it extra emotion by attributing what they've said, by giving it intent that's not really there. So if somebody says, hey, Matt, I really like your black shirt, you know, I might be like, I think this person is wanting to borrow money from me, and they're trying to make me feel good about myself so that I'll give them monies. And by doing that, they're out to get me. This would be an example of something that you can't do with describe. You can't do that. Also, we cannot describe the feelings of other people. This is especially tempting for a therapist like myself, to be able to look at a person and say, hey, you know what? I can tell that you're feeling very sad. When all I can really do is I can say, you know what? There's tears coming down your face. I'm not sure if you've recently smelled an onion, or if you're having a memory that might inspire or prompt an unpleasant emotion that might be having your body have to re-regulate itself, or maybe the emotion is pleasant and it feels nice. It's like a nice release to feel this emotion. This is describing, basically. And last but not least, the harder concept of them all, we cannot describe a concept to someone. We can only describe what we observe, and maybe somebody will be able to pick up a similar pattern that we're observing so that we can see a concept side by side that is similar enough for us to have a similar decision-making process. Okay? So here's what I mean by this. If I'm sitting on a chair on my porch and I'm watching my adolescent niece, and the adolescent niece is washing her car, and then she takes the hose and she turns it off, and then she leaves the hose, and I see her leave the hose, and then she walks into the house. I can then be talking to my sister, her mother, and I can say, you know, I watched your daughter. She was washing the car, and then when she was done washing the car, she set the hose down and she walked away and she walked into the house. Okay? Then when that niece tells us, here's what I did. I washed the car, and then I rolled up the hose neatly. At this point, I can tell my sister what I saw. And my sister can say, my sister can recognize a pattern, okay? I might be trying to point out to my sister that my niece describes doing things that I saw with my eyes that contradicted what my niece says. That's what I'm describing to my sister. And my sister could take this a couple ways. My sister could take this as, my daughter has done things like this too. My daughter has done things and I've observed this pattern as well. And then based on what we're both observing, we can come up with totally different conclusions. I can think, well, this person's maybe not being truthful, which is a judgment. I'm judging them. My sister could say, oh, my daughter might be struggling with memory, which is another interpretation. Neither one of these we can prove, okay? But this is just an example of how we can't describe a concept. I can't describe to my sister that I think that my niece tells false truths. I can't describe why. I mean, I can't explain that concept. I can only describe. Okay? And I can clarify a little bit, which I'm willing to do. If I see a person smiling and laughing on Monday, and then I see them still with maybe more of a neutral expression on Tuesday, I can say, you looked happier on Monday than you did on Tuesday. But I technically would not be describing. I would be judging. I would be trying to put my own perceptions on it. When being more accurate, a describing parent would be, I noticed on Monday you were laughing and giggling a lot, and I noticed on Tuesday you were not. And to the untrained eye, we might think this person was happier on Monday than they were on Tuesday. But to the trained eye, trained ear, trained heart, whatever, it might turn out, when we asked the adolescent, yeah, I was giggling and smiling on Monday because I was trying to hide my pain. I was trying to hide my discomfort. And I actually felt better on Tuesday, and I didn't have to do that. So I was actually happier on Tuesday than I was on Monday. Anyway, this is the concept of describing. And in a later video, we'll elaborate on being judgmental. But as a parent, the reason why we want to be a parent who describes things is, one, when we describe things, we lower the odds of an unnecessary argument or debate. Two, we are able to stay in a place of wise mind in a much more effective and efficient way. And three, a parent who describes what they're seeing is more likely to be able to control themselves, and they're definitely more likely to be able to communicate effectively. And that's describing, and that's why I think it's a good thing. Thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you next time.